Hey guys, Dead3 here back once again, and today I'm going to be doing a top 10 list. This is going to be a top 10 list where I talk about my favorite horror movie villains or killers in movies. I actually got this idea from one of my favorite YouTubers on here and a good friend of mine, Andrew Ballina. He's a really nice guy, and he did a video. He got recommended to do this video where he basically talked about his top 10 favorite serial killers, and I thought that was actually a really good idea to do video of, because for movies there's so many diverse killers in films with different techniques of killing, and I knew that, that not only was this going to be a fun video, but it was also going to be a bit difficult, and it actually was picking out my top favorite ones. But, after I started thinking about it and, thinking about all the different killers that I liked, it actually became a lot easier to do for me than I thought it would be, and there's so many of them. So I'm going to go ahead and get into it. First off, I'm sorry if my voice sounds a little bit muffled. I've actually been kind of sick recently, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a couple of honorable mentions. These killers are, these killers or villains are ones that I didn't really grow up watching, so I'm not really as big a fan of them. Whenever I think about a movie that I really love, it's a movie that I've usually grown up with watching. And yeah. By the way, this is also my opinion. I'm not saying that these are the best movie serial killers. Like, for my number one, I'm not saying that that's the best one. I'm just saying, just for me, that is my own personal opinion. So I'm going to go and get started. The first one is Jigsaw from the Saw series. Now, I love Jigsaw because in the first movie, you never really knew what he was. You just saw him on a video camera, and he was just a puppet. And it was so weird. Puppets are already creepy. So seeing that guy, and you're just sitting there like, so the whole movie's about a killer puppet. That's kind of cool. And the fact that he never really kills anybody, he makes people kill themselves in a way, which I actually think is a really cool original idea. And yeah, that's why I really like the Saw series. I like the first, second, and third were pretty much the ones that I really enjoyed, and I was not a big fan of the other ones. I personally thought that they sort of got away from the story and just started making them as sort of like, the torture porn type movies that you think about. But yeah, the first one I really loved. The second one, I actually think I might like the second one even more because the ending is awesome in the second one. I did not see it coming. So yeah, this is definitely Jigsaw. This is my first honorable mention. Now my next one, this actually isn't a person, but they're also puppets, and it's all the puppets from the Puppet Master series. Now I love the Puppet Master movies. My favorite puppet would definitely have to be Blade. I just love him with the knife and the hook. I think he's probably one of my favorite ones. And there's so many crazy puppets in this one. Of course, there's Jester. There's a Torch. He shoots a flame out of his hand. There's a Tunneler with a drill in his head, and Ms. Leech. Every time I see her puke up a leech, it's always gross. But yeah, all the puppets from the Puppet Master movies are, definitely ones that I'm definitely iconic. Now the next one thing that's crazy about this next one that I decided to choose was that I actually see this actually happen. I think that this is very realistic because I can actually see a fan of a certain novelist going that crazy and wanting to keep them, in their house forever. And it's Misery, and Kathy Bates does an amazing performance of the obsessed, fan of the novelist James Cain in this movie. And just what she does is crazy. Of course, like, tying him up to his bed and, hitting his ankles with a sledgehammer and breaking them. That is just so crazy. And it's so cool because I actually think that this can actually happen. I can actually see a fan of a novelist or something going that crazy and taking the novelist, hostage. I just think it's really, really creepy, very realistic movie, and this is definitely one that, definitely an iconic movie and one that you always remember. And my last honorable mention is Esther from Orphan. Now, I love this movie, mostly because I love, evil killer kid movies, and this one is definitely one of the top best ones for me. And the fact is that Esther is just so ruthless in this movie. She tortures the kids, she tortures, the mother, and it's just, you know, it's just a crazy, crazy movie, and it really, you know, it's such a creepy atmosphere and just everything about it. I know I've talked about this movie, I've done a review on it, so I'm not going to get too much into it, but this is, I was actually going to put this in my top 10, but I decided not to, as I have a lot of other ones that I like, so yeah, but Esther from Orphan, really good one. Alright, I'm going to check the camera real quick. Alright, and we're back. Now I'm going to go ahead and get into it. Now, like I said, these were really hard to do, to pick my top 10 favorite ones, but, you know, I went ahead, but the ones that I did, I think I'm pretty satisfied with. Now, the first one, number 10 that I picked, is Norman Bates from Psycho. Now, this guy was probably one of the first major killers that you've ever seen in a movie. This movie is groundbreaking because it's so realistic. You know, you can actually see a guy, you know, owning a hotel room just to kill a bunch of women and being obsessed by it and wanting to be a woman. And this movie was actually based on the life of a real serial killer, Ed Gein, who, you know, who was a necrophiliac. He would dig up graves and, you know, cut like skin off of women and wear them. He's a big influence on movies like this. He also influenced Silence of the Lambs, which I would have actually put Hannibal Lecter in my top 10 as well, but I went with Norman Bates because I think he's a lot more iconic, simply because this was one of the first major movies like that. And of course the shower scene, everybody remembers that, so Psycho. Now the next one, I think some people might be surprised about it because this movie is about a movie star as a kid that never really plays anything, you know, like a killer. He never plays anything evil. He's one of the most recognizable and successful child actors of all time. And I'm talking about The Good Son, starring Macaulay Culkin and Elijah Wood. Now, I love this movie, personally, because I love it how Henry is the name of Macaulay Culkin's character. He never really kills anybody, and this movie is not gory. There's no gore in it. He's not walking around stabbing people. He's actually doing things that you would see a kid actually doing. Like, you know, he has a gun that shoots nails, and he shoots them at cats and dogs and stuff like that. And you can actually see a mean little kid doing it. And that's what I liked about it. Like, he wasn't evil in a way. He was just a bad kid doing bad things, and he just enjoyed doing them. And that's why I definitely put him in my top 10. Henry, Macaulay Culkin's character from The Good Son. Speaking of evil kid movies, the next one I would definitely pick is Isaac from The Children of the Corn. Now, the reason why I think Isaac is so iconic is because he was able to get every single kid in the town that they lived follow him, and, you know, everybody believed that he was like the second coming of Jesus or a priest. And I think that this movie is also a bit of a message about religion, and of how that religion can be very corrupting, and of how that, you know, you put religion or something like that in the hands of the wrong person, they're going to make you do something bad. And I can actually see this maybe happening someday. I can actually see children getting up and revolting and killing all the adults for what they've done to, you know, the land. But Isaac is a definite one. Can't have a top 10 favorite serial killers without Pinhead from Hellraiser. What more can you say? There's not much you can say about Pinhead, you know, just one of the most iconic figures in horror, the pin stuck in his head. I love the makeup in this movie. You can't really talk about, you know, and his torture, you know, of course, devices. He pretty much just tortures you forever and causes so much pain to people. It's such an iconic. And of course, he has some of the best lines in a horror movie, you know, will tear your soul apart. Probably one of the best horror lines I can think of. So, Pinhead. Alright guys, well now we're getting down to business. This is going to be my top 5 favorite ones right now. Now these ones... Oh wait, I'm sorry. I still have number 6 to do. Number 6, again, one of the most iconic figures. I'm pretty sure some people are going to wonder why he's not lower on. And the reason why that the person I'm going to choose is not lower on is because I didn't really get into this series as much as I've got into other series. But I'm going to go in... But I still love the series of death, and it's Jason from Friday the 13th, or Friday the 13th Part 3 through, of course, New X. Of course, you know, in the first one, you know, it was Jason's mother, and Jason didn't really come around until the second one. But yeah, Jason is one of the top best iconic figures. Of course, the hockey mask, it's so recognizable. Seeing, just every time I see a hockey mask, you can't help but think of Jason now. And of course, every single kill that he does is amazing. So yeah, Friday the 13th. This is actually one of the first Friday the 13th movies I saw, was the final chapter. This is one of my personal favorite ones of the series. But yeah, Jason, can't go wrong with that. Excuse me. All right, and now we're getting down to. Actually, I think I'm on number 6. I think that was number 7. I apologize. I'm getting a little bit mixed up. But number 6 is Leatherface. One thing I really love about Leatherface is that when he's alone and when he's off just killing anybody, he's ruthless. He's a maniac. But then when he's with his family, he gets really like scared and reclusive. And I can kind of relate to that. I can actually kind of see, him being bullied, when he was younger for being, different, and then the fact that he's getting up and sort of taking revenge and it's gone crazy. Same thing with Jason. I feel very connected to people that have been bullied and people that have been pushed aside because they're different. And Jason and Leatherface are two of the top ones, because people are cruel. And watching movies like Friday the 13th, I can actually watch that and say, well, it sucks that these people had to go through this. Even though I know that that they had to go through that, and this is what is driven to do that. And I've been bullied around. I'm not gonna go crazy or anything, but this is pretty much just taking the alienation and putting it to the extreme. So that's why I really enjoy movies like Friday the 13th and Texas Chainsaw Massacre for those reasons. And of course, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is probably one of the most realistic and raw horror films of all time. Okay, now getting out to number 5. Now this was so hard to do. When I was doing this, I cannot. Oh wait, never mind. This is my top 4, but this was so hard to pick between what would be my 4th one, and I love this series so much that I wish I could have ranked it lower, but I decided not to. But it's the Tall Man from the Phantasm series. Now everybody knows about the Tall Man. He works in a mortuary digging up dead bodies. Another thing about it is that he doesn't really have to do anything to be scary. He can just walk towards you and he's already terrifying. And of course he has, all the iconic, you play a good game, boy, but the game is finished and now you die. Just stuff like that is stuff that sticks in your head. Phantasm is one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I love, and the Tall Man is such an iconic figure. Alright, now this next one was really hard to pick my next one, because the next movie I'm going to show was actually the first horror movie I saw. And if you've watched my channel, then you'll know who I'm talking about. And the reason why I didn't rank this next killer as number 3 is because I don't really know it. This is really hard. I'm going to have to say I'll pick this one next. But Chucky from the Child's Play series. Now I love Chucky. This was the first horror movie I ever saw. The fact that he can be such, how that little doll that your kid is playing with is gonna be, killer and is gonna murder you, is such a creepy idea. Dolls are already creepy to begin with. Same thing with puppets. But the fact that he comes to life and just starts murdering and everybody is just insane. Like I said, I've talked so much about this movie. I'm not gonna go into it, but Chucky, my definite number 3 right here. I actually would have picked him as number 2, but the next guy, I just have to, it was really difficult. I'm going to check the camera one last time. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and finish this off because I'm almost out. Sorry if I keep going back and forth, but my battery's about to die. Now my number 2 pick, like I said, this was really difficult to choose between number 3 and number 2, but number 2 is Freddy Krueger from A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now you can't go wrong with Freddy. Just the fact that he goes into people's dreams and gets into your psyche and then kills you, it's so original and so different from any other serial killers. And the fact that that he can get you when you're both alive and asleep is great. And of course the claw, is such an iconic thing. And the fact that he was burned and he was a child murderer. He's just ruthless. Anybody that murders children is already just ruthless, and Freddy is definitely one of my favorites. And of course, I love the opening, his theme song. You know, 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. So great. And my number one pick, I'm sure everybody's already gonna know this because I've talked about this movie so many times. It's my top favorite horror movie of all time, and that is of course Michael Myers. And the reason why I love Michael Myers is because he barely does anything. He can just stand there and stare at you, and that's what I loved about him. He was so creepy. He's probably the creepiest serial killer, I think. He's the only serial killer, he's the only killer in a movie that ever gave me the creeps. You know, Freddy did kind of, and Chucky did, but, you know, Michael Myers is definitely my favorite one. And, you know, in every single movie, he's always the top, you know. And another thing is, you know, he's not a violent killer like other killers. Like for Jason, you know, he'll kill you if anything, just cut you up, you know. But Michael, you know, one stab and you're done, and that's what I loved about him. And he's always had a mystique and a mystery about him, and I love people that have, you know, a mystery about him. Like, you want to know what's behind that mask. You just want to know. And he just never really seemed like a human, in a way. You know, he just seemed like just this figure that just stopped and stared at you, and that was always, it's always a creepy thought that feel like you're being followed and feel like you're being watched. You know, so that's what I like about him, that he doesn't just rely on just going out and killing people. He just stares there and he stalks you down, and then he creeps you out, and then he goes in for the attack. And that's one thing that I think, that's also one reason why I find him to be one of the most realistic serial killers in a movie, and definitely my number one pick. Well, that is it, guys. I know I stumbled over this video, but like I said, I'm sick right now, and I feel a little bit lightheaded. So yeah, but those were just my top 10 favorite horror serial killers, and yeah, and like I said, number 2 and number 3 were so difficult because, you know, Chucky was the first killer I ever saw in a horror movie, and I wanted to pick him as number 2, but I thought about, Freddy, and it just got really difficult. But I hope everyone enjoyed this, and I know that all these serial killers everybody's going to talk about these, the same killers in movies, but, I mean, the reason why they're iconic is because everybody knows about them, so, and I tried to mix it up a little bit. I know that I tried to at least add some newer ones that you wouldn't expect, but, yeah, so that is it for it. I hope everyone enjoyed my video. I would love to see some video responses if you guys want. I don't know if YouTube is doing video responses anymore, because I heard that they were not doing that, which honestly I think is pretty stupid. But yeah, feel free to, if you can still do video responses, I'd love to see them. If not, just tell me, hey, check out my channel. I already did one. So yeah, so I can check them out, comment, subscribe, do whatever you guys gotta do. I hope I get over this a little cold I got going. It's nothing serious or anything, but yeah, that was my top 10 favorite horror villains. Hope everybody's doing well. I'll see you guys later.